Hi there, this is Torsten. So this is going to be the start of a new Bible study series out of First John. We're going to go through the entire book over a series of some videos here where we'll look at the text and we'll annotate the text and we'll take a look at things and see what John is saying to us here. So John wrote the letter First John as a means to tell the church the truth of what he witnessed and what he saw. And at the time, there were several that were pulling away from the teachings of John and teachings of the other disciples. And he was writing to make sure that they knew exactly what the truth was and what it is that Jesus taught, so that they would know the truth without a shadow of a doubt. So let's take a look here at 1 John chapter 1. We'll take a look at the first 4 verses that you see here. So let's take a look at this here. So starting in verse 1, it says, "That which was from the beginning, which we have heard, which we have seen with our eyes, which we looked upon and have touched with our hands, concerning the word of life." So one of the things to note here is he doesn't mention Jesus here quite yet. He will here in just a little bit. But he starts this off in saying "that which." And so I'm going to go ahead and underline that real quick here. That which was from the beginning, which we had heard, which we had seen with our eyes, which we looked upon and have touched with our hands, concerning the word of life. And so this is the key here. All of those whiches, that which was from the beginning, that which we have heard, that which we have seen, all of that refers to the word of life. And that's just another way of John classifying who Jesus was. If you look back at John chapter 1, it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and it talking about Jesus and how Jesus created life. And so this is a reference to that again. John wanted to emphasize that Jesus didn't just become a man, and that's when he began. He was there from the very beginning. And so again, we have this phrase here, from the very beginning. This isn't the beginning of the gospel, the beginning of his birth. This is the beginning of time. He was there at the very, very beginning. And so then we have a series of phrases that talk about how John actually interacted with and was on earth here with Jesus. He says, "We have heard." And so the "we" refers to him and the other disciples that walked with Jesus. "We have seen with our eyes, and we looked upon." And then we have another form of "looked upon" with "we have seen." So we have seen and we've looked upon. That kind of has a slightly different connotation. We have seen with our eyes is really the physical seeing, and the "look upon" is to kind of go and see and go and be a part of, and to really examine and look upon. That's kind of the difference in that phrase there. And then he ends with "have touched with our own hands." So John's saying here, this guy Jesus, this word of life, I'm not testifying out of secondhand. I'm not saying I heard about this. I just, somewhere far, far away this happened. John's saying I experienced this. I saw it with my eyes. I looked upon him. I touched him with my own hands. I have authority here to talk to you about who Jesus is. And Jesus is the word of life. And then he goes on into the next phrase here, and he says that the life of Jesus was made manifest. So what is that word manifest? We see it down a little bit later on as well, made manifest to us. That word manifest means it came to be. It came to be a physical, like we came to be able to see it and touch it, and they could smell him. They could interact with him. They could talk with him. That life, the word of life that is Jesus, was made manifest. And then once again, he says here, we have seen it, and we testify to it. We testify to it. To what? It being the life. We testify to the life that was made manifest. We testify to who Jesus is, and that we, in fact, did see him, John is saying here. And not only does he testify to it, but I love that he says here, we proclaim to you the eternal life, that word proclaim. I just love the deepness of that word proclaim. It's not just oh yeah, let me tell you about it. It's like, oh yeah, let me tell you about. That proclaim is exciting, is big, is more than just a telling. It's a bigger word than that. John saying, we proclaim to you the eternal life, which was with the Father and was made manifest to us. So Jesus was with the Father, and then as a result of God's plan to save humanity, Jesus became made manifest. He was made manifest to us here. So he was with the Father, and then he was made manifest to us. And again, here we go into verse 3. It says, again, that which we have seen and heard, we proclaim also to you. So John's leaving no room for doubt here that Jesus was seen by John. Jesus was seen by the disciples. They saw him and they heard him, and then they proclaim it also. And why do they proclaim it? And this is kind of the key here in this. So remember, I said that John was writing this to let people know, hey, this is what the truth is. This is truth. This is who we saw. This is what we saw happen. He is the word of life. Jesus is the word of life. If you stray from that, stray from the word of truth, you're going to be out of fellowship with the church of Jesus, the church that preaches Jesus, and you're going to be out of fellowship with the Father. So here he says, let me pick another color here. Let's do orange. He says, so that you too may have fellowship with us. John's saying, hey guys, don't go astray. Don't go off and listen to something else somebody else is preaching. They're not telling you the truth. The truth is Jesus. Jesus is the Son of life. Don't believe anything they're saying about, oh, Jesus was just a good teacher. Oh, Jesus was just a good man. No, Jesus was God. Jesus is God. He came in human form. He was made manifest. The disciples got to touch him, see him, hear him, look upon him. They got to do all that stuff. And John's saying, listen to this. I'm proclaiming this. We want you to have fellowship with us. And indeed, this fellowship is with the Father and with his Son, Jesus Christ. The fellowship was with the Father and with the Son, his Son, Jesus Christ. So when we're talking about here, making sure we know the truth so that we can be in fellowship with the truth, with the word of life, with Jesus, who is the Son of God, who is not just sitting somewhere away and not interacting with this world, but he's still in charge. He's still on the throne. And by proclaiming the truth and by teaching these folks that, hey, this is the truth, this will help maintain the fellowship with the Father and with his Son. And what's the result of that? I love this part. I might just highlight this whole thing. We're writing these things to you so that our joy may be complete. So that our joy may be complete. That is such good news. Right now we have not just right now, but at any point in time, there's so many things that that pull us away from our complete joy. You know, we focus on the negative things that are happening and the things that pull us away from who Jesus is and for what he did in our life. And when we pull away from those things, we're robbing ourselves of this complete joy that's available. And so if you're looking for some joy, you need some joy, listen to the truth. Listen to the truth of John's gospel. If you've never read through the Bible before and you need a place to start in John chapter 1 and just read it through. John wrote that gospel to be understood by anyone. who's looking for the truth of who Jesus is, in order that you might have joy both in this life now and joy for all eternity. Well, so we'll get another video posted out here shortly about 1 John chapter 1, starting in verse 5, and looking forward to spending some time with you then. As always, God bless, and we will talk to you soon.